Yeah. What's up? Welcome. As always, I'm your host. I'm Will Bryant. Told you I was back from sabbatical, back at it. Here we go. I don't know if you guys, whoever's watching out there, if you guys noticed with the keen eye, what I just cracked open right now. See, to the untrained eye, you may think I just cracked open a brewski, a Heineken, to be specific. But the truth of the matter is I actually cracked open a Heineken Zero. You want to check that out right there. For those of y'all listening, had to let y'all know. It's actually a Heineken Zero today. More on that later. Before we get to that, do me a favor. Get the boring shit out of the way. Follow me on all platforms. Like, subscribe, sub, all that good stuff. It's really easy. I'm Will Bryant. You can follow me on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, X, Twitch, Spotify, Threads, all the good stuff. Once again, it's just 3 simple words. I'm Will Bryant, Bryant, like Kobe. Thank you for being back here with me. Last week, in my return, I talked about why I stepped away from the podcast for a little bit, 2 months essentially. I talked about the reasons I stepped away, what I felt while I was away, and I also got to reasons that I started motivating to get back to it. And one of the things I very vaguely, touched upon and didn't even really mention specifically was what I consider something that was pretty important to kind of turning everything around a little bit for me. And it has to do with this Heineken Zero that I'm drinking right now. See, if we remember previously on I'm Will Bryant, I felt like I was in a little bit of a rut lately. I tend to be very introspective, very in my own thoughts. Sometimes, perhaps even oftentimes, to a detriment to my mental health, my sanity, if you will. And in the past couple of months, with me just kind of being bummed out, wondering if I was depressed or not, and giving myself anxiety for a variety of different things that I've already kind of touched upon. I just realized something, and I realized that I felt like I was drinking more than I was before. Not like the most I ever have, which we'll get into, but I felt like I had made some improvements and been slipping on them a little bit. Bear with me, if you will. Basically, this all goes down to me kind of asking myself a very simple, blunt question. Am I an alcoholic? Now, this isn't going to be one of those Netflix docuseries where it takes 6 episodes of me stretching a long explanation for the ending. No, spoiler alerts. I don't think so, but the danger looms. It's there. So that what I'm gonna do for this episode is explore that a little bit and explain what I mean, how I've been tackling it, how I've been dealing with it, how I came to that nuanced conclusion. Because I'm not exactly saying yes and I'm not exactly saying no, but the color's gray. The world can be gray sometimes instead of just black and white. And let's get into it a little bit. I figured before I really just bluntly start answering that question, I'll get to how I even got to asking myself that question, how I even got to the point where I wondered if I even was an alcoholic, because it wasn't always like that, obviously. But truth is, even when I was younger, like a young teen, 13, I remember knowing beyond a shadow of a doubt, I remember knowing that I was going to be a pothead before I ever smoked weed. I don't know why I thought that. I don't know why I knew that on some level. I just did. And the first time I ever smoked weed, I remember getting really high. You know how some people say the first time they smoked weed, they didn't get high at all? I was one of those people that the first time I smoked, I got obliterated. I was gone. I was giggling. I was laughing. I was saying dumb stuff. And I was right. I was like, oh, I definitely want to do this again. And often, too. So, and, to this day, I smoke weed every day. Pretty much every day. I have tried to be a productive stoner. I don't really like the term stoner. I barely like the term pothead, but I'll admit that I am those. I just don't like the negative connotations of it. Even though early on, I probably did, I did personify all the negative stereotypes of a stoner in the sense that I was like skipping class in college to get high instead, and I ended up failing out of college, not just because of weed, a bunch of other stuff too, but at first I was not the responsible, productive pothead. I learned to be eventually, so thank God for that. Why am I even talking about weed in an episode where I'm wondering out loud if I'm an alcoholic? Well, it's all because I've known my entire life mostly that I have, or that I feel like I have an addictive Freudian slip right there. I meant to say an addictive personality, and I'm like, I have an abusive personality. I fuck people up. No. I feel like I have an addictive personality. By the way, I'm drinking coffee here as well, on top of the Heineken Zero. Is that good? Sidebar. Speaking of addictive personalities, something that I've been doing more of since I cut down on my drinking is my intake of coffee has definitely skyrocketed a little bit here. And there's part of me that thinks that if I'm not drinking alcohol, then I might as well be drinking some other substance like caffeine. And I think most people would agree that caffeine is also an addictive substance, and people can get addicted to caffeine. So what am I doing here? It's like the person that goes to rehab, stops doing, I don't know, heroin, but then starts smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. I'm not saying stick with the heroin. I'm just saying, Although I hear it's nice. So I'm drinking less, drinking way more coffee. And here I am drinking a Heineken Zero while still drinking coffee. I don't is the next switch to go to decaf? Is that the non-alcoholic version of coffee? Is decaf? Because I never understood decaf, and honestly, for the longest time, I never understood non-alcoholic beer either. But here I am drinking it, and I don't mind it. I don't mind it at all. For a tasting, I feel like it's more of a, I don't know, Pavlovian thing perhaps for me at this point, because I do drink often while doing this podcast. So perhaps I just feel like I have to drink something, and this is a good replacement. This is a good, yeah. We'll see. Anyways, my addictive personality. Even though I knew that I was going to be a pothead before I ever smoked weed, the truth is I can't really say the same when it comes to alcohol. I never, I didn't grow up thinking like, oh, I'm going to be an alcoholic when I grew up. But I did have a pretty strong feeling that I was just going to enjoy the act of drinking very much. And I got to say, I was spot on with that one too. So 2 for 2, Will. What I didn't like, however, was hard liquor. I enjoyed beer. I mean, from before the age of 21. But yeah, I enjoyed beer, and but vodka, tequila, whiskey, rum, not so much. I didn't like those hard alcohols. In fact, I remember going to a bar with Dave once around, I think it was Sunnyside, and he ordered shots for us, and I literally said yucky. I was a 23-year-old young adult saying yucky at a bar because Dave ordered 2 shots of Jameson. I did it. My rule used to be that I'll only do shots if I have to. And, when do you have to do a shot? Well, if someone buys me a shot, I'm not going to be an asshole and turn it down. No, I'll take the shot. Another situation that I found myself in was when people were doing like a round of shots for someone's birthday. That was also a time where I would just be like, all right, fuck it, I'll do this shot. I'm not going to be the one douchebag in the group that's like, no, happy birthday, but not for me. Now, I know there's a lot of sober people out there that are like, why not, you idiot? And that's me. That's because that's me. I'm easily talked into doing things, especially if it involves some type of inebriation. I'm always down to, drink or smoke or, snort or dose or flip or, whatever. I'm just down. But liquor back then was yucky to me. And it wasn't until I because you got to remember, I wasn't always working in the restaurant industry. It was, I worked in retail. I had office gigs for a while. It wasn't until I became a bar back, until my first time working in a restaurant, in a bar, that I started drinking harder alcohol. And it was mostly because I worked at a whiskey bar and we had a crazy array of whiskey, and I wanted to learn. It was encouraged to learn about whiskey. Whoa, excuse me. It was encouraged to learn about, about your spirits in general, but, whiskey specifically because, we had way more of that than anything else. So I started getting into bourbons and ryes and scotches. And, at one point I tried damn near every bottle that wasn't something top shelf. And even then I did try at least a handful of the top shelf ones. Some like Birthday Bourbon by Old Forester was one of my favorites. My first day, like live, that I was done training, I remember staying. I closed that night with with a bartender I worked under for about a year or two actually. He's an awesome guy. I still love him to this day. To this day. Me and him, we closed the bar together. I was his bar back, and we stayed and drank beers for like 2 hours, and I got freaking hammered because I wasn't really used to drinking that much beer, like just basically, I was never really used to self-serve beer like that, and not just like, Miller High Life. It was good craft beer. And I was drinking something that was probably like 8%. I got destroyed. That was the first of many nights like that. I went from barback / food runner to server, and I just kept drinking more and more. I was just around it more, and I remember going back to thinking how yucky hard liquor was. The first time that I ever visited my friends in Stony Brook, before I ever transferred there myself, I visited them to party one weekend, and the bottle of alcohol that I was walking around campus with drinking was a bottle of Baileys. I was swigging from a bottle of Baileys like I was Nas drinking Hennessy in a video. Like I was Fabulous drinking Hypnotic. I had that bottle of Baileys, swigging it, thinking I was hot shit, because it was the only liquor that I could drink that didn't make me fucking go yucky. Little did I know that the only people that drink Baileys straight up are usually in their 60s. I don't care. I still like Baileys. I usually put it in coffee or something now. If I'm making Baileys on the rocks, you're probably above 50. There's probably pictures of that somewhere on Facebook. Me drinking freaking Baileys like a moron. Passing out shots of Baileys like an idiot. God, so stupid. So anyways, my drinking, beers and whiskeys or whatever, a lot of whiskeys neat, was still not crazy. I definitely was drinking more than ever before, but it wasn't until I finally became a bartender where everything changed, basically. If I drank a lot as a server, as a barback or a server, then the bartending is what kicked it up to the extreme level. That's when suddenly shots became a major part of my life, basically. Not only was I just drinking more. Now I wasn't just working around beer and alcohol. I had the direct access to it. It's in charge of giving it out, of making it come out of nozzles and faucets and whatnot. And that is a dangerous responsibility to have. It's like Spider-Man was told by Uncle Ben, with great power comes great responsibility. And boy, yeah, I might as well. I'm basically Venom. Venom. You gave me that power, and we abused it. It was on this show that I remember telling the story of being trained as a bartender, and the person that trained me told me that if I'm gonna take a shot, you might as well take a tequila because it's the only liquor that's an upper, not a downer. And then on the same show, we looked it up and realized that was a lie. Maury Povich looked it up and said that was a lie. But that's what I was taught, and that's what I did. So I started doing a lot of shots behind the bar, a lot of shots, and that's something that kept going from when I worked at my first bar at the Astorian to when that shut down during pandemic. and I got a job at the Diddy after the pandemic, that probably, I went from doing a lot of shots to doing an infinity amount of shots. The Diddy was a monster that nobody survived. I remember when I first started drinking a lot as a bartender in when I first learned how to bartend. There was a moment where I Googled something. I literally Googled, am I an alcoholic? And I remember this was years ago that I typed this into Google. So I just typed it in again now. I doubt that it'll be the same like link that comes up first because, let's see, that was, I don't know, 6 years ago at this point, maybe more. Well, now the first thing that pops up is help is available. Uh, it's also the suicide crisis lifeline. I'm an alcoholic. I'm not suicidal right now. Let's see. There was like 10 signs that. Am I an alcoholic? 10-question quiz to find out. That might be what I took. I'm not sure. Anyways, I remember reading the list, and we'll see what this one says here. But when I Googled, am I an alcoholic? I remember thinking that the first like sign that you're an alcoholic should be you're Googling, am I an alcoholic? That's probably not a good start. But it also said something like, are you drinking at work? And I'm like, well, work is the reason. Yeah, of course I'm drinking. I work at the bar. And do you drink to like change moods? And it's like, well, it does make me happier at work. And, so let's see, 10 warning signs you're an alcoholic according to therecoveryvillage.com. Yeah. Number one, drinking alone and in secrecy. I wasn't really doing that at the bar. I was drinking in public in front of people, just doing it a lot. Losing interest in other activities you once found enjoyable. At the time, no. I was, if anything, the drinking made me enjoy things more. Alcohol cravings. It's weird. Like, can you crave being drunk without craving the alcohol? Like, it's like craving the high without the drug, I guess. Like, I wanted to feel drunk. Making drinking a priority over other responsibilities. Well, not really. I was working. I was drinking at work, but I was getting my work done. Alcohol withdrawal symptoms. I don't know. I would have to stop drinking to figure that one out. Extreme mood swings and irritability. Well, I've never really been a friendly guy in general. Feeling of guilt associated with drinking. At the time, I was having a time of my life. Having a drink first thing in the morning. Nah, not really, but I would one like pretty early on in a shift. Continuing to drink despite health, financial, and family problems. Well, I was always broke. But my health was all right, I guess. And an inability to stop or control the amount of alcohol consumed. Yeah, maybe. Well, I always lost count of how many shots I was taking behind the bar. I remember the first time I Googled that years ago and feeling like, nah, like I just did. I checked off a lot that didn't and some did. And it made me feel okay a little bit. Made me feel like I'm not really an alcoholic. I'm a productive enthusiast, just like I'm a productive pothead or whatever. But things started changing, I guess, a little bit. I've chronicled it here on the podcast. I have not run away from it. I have not shied away from it. I have not sugarcoated or lied about it. I did get fired from the Diddy for getting too drunk on the job. So that is where things obviously took a turn for the worse. And it was the first time that I actually had to confront myself with a much more, what's the word I'm looking for? honest assessment of my drinking. It was the first time that my drinking did get in the way of something very important. You know, I lost my job a couple of days before Christmas. That's one of the most irresponsible things you can do. So, as I chug this non-alcoholic Heineken, it is. I like the feeling of it, you know, because I still feel like I'm partaking in something. After the Diddy, I started drinking less because I freaking had to. And although I spent those 6 months at the Horny Ram, I definitely drank at the Horny Ram, but I really hated that job, and again so then I found myself drinking to out of sadness and to improve the mood, and finding myself pretty much unable to, or at least feeling like I was unable to get through shifts unless I was drunk. You know, that was dangerous. And my drink started changing from a shot here to a double of tequila with just lemon juice. I don't know. That's when it started getting bad again, or it stayed bad, I should say. It wasn't until I got hired at the Comedy Cellar, where it was I've said it again. I've said it before. The Cellar is the first time that I've ever felt proud of the spot that I work. And that doesn't mean that I didn't feel something for a lot of the great bars that I've been in the past. When I used to tell someone I worked at the Forest Hill Station House, it'll be a blank look on their face. I have to tell them it's actually a really great bar with an amazing food and an incredible cocktail program. You know, if I tell people I work at the Diddy, unless you're from Astoria, Queens, again, I'm going to get a blank face and I have to be like, it's actually a really busy ass bar. It's kind of crazy, whatever. But if I tell people I work at the Comedy Cellar, there's a good chance that somebody will just know what that is. And I never really had that before. Furthermore, I revere the art of comedy, and have hopes of getting better at it myself. So I for that I revere the Comedy Cellar, and I treat it with way more respect. And it's also just straight up a more strict environment than I've probably ever been in. Period. So I'm more focused. It got me more focused. It definitely curved my drinking for a while there. That brings me to the little 2-month sabbatical that I've had recently. Now, I've been at the Cellar for over a year and a half, and I would say it's been about that long that I felt pretty good about my alcohol intake, I guess, because it was way less than I felt like it had peaked, and I was on the downswing now. But something started happening in the last couple months where the struggle that I had mentally that I described in the previous episode, it was essentially driving me back to the thought process I had a while back, where I just felt like I needed to drink to get past the day or whatever. So, or to deal with the day. So I was definitely drinking after work way more, too much. And then, I was doing this thing where I'd go to a local deli, and Sometimes I get like maybe I get a bacon, egg, and cheese, but often I get like what's it called? Like one of those espresso double shot Starbucks can thingies or whatever. And it's the type of deli you could sit and eat or drink or whatever as long as you bought something there. And I would get to the city early so I could like chill at the deli and usually working on like a reel or something sort of social media related. But what started happening in the last month or two or whatever was, this is the type of deli that also sells beer and allows you to drink those beers if you sit down there too. And instead of the Starbucks can, I started getting like a tall boy of White Claw or something like that. And this is before, going to work. That wasn't okay. And that led to something that I hadn't really been experiencing too much before. And it was just, the guilt that it was described in one of these signs that I read earlier. Feelings of guilt associated with drinking. I felt that strongly during this 2-month hiatus that I took. And I realized that suddenly the drinking that I was doing to feel better about getting through a bad day was making me feel worse for having done it in the first place. So now, not only, if you remember last episode, I said how I was really down on myself, hard on myself for not keeping up with the podcast. I basically started to drink a little bit more. I started to slip into bad habits again to deal with feeling bad about essentially being unproductive and failing at something that I cared about. And then, on top of feeling bad about feeling like a failure, I started feeling guilty about how I dealt with being a failure. I started feeling guilty about slipping back into the drinking. Now, I never let myself slip up to the extremes that I was at the Diddy, nor the Astorian, nor the Horny Ram, or anything like that. What it was, it's just I saw myself slipping. I realized the effects. I was in a negative mood way more often. I was depressed way more often. But I saw it. I was clocking it. So, honestly, there was no real, I'm trying to remember if there was a quote unquote come to Jesus moment where I just like had this epiphany. But not really. I remember being at work one day and just feeling really, really, really fucking sad. And thinking, man, I really need to change something to not feel this sad. And the next day I was like, I really want to try to not drink at all today. And I did. And that felt better than the drink I would have had. And so I tried to do it again, and I did it again, and I did it again, and I went, I forget if it was 6 or 7 days, but the week of no drinking was the longest I had gone without drinking in months. And then I only broke the drinkless, I only broke the sobriety to have, I believe I had 2 beers when I went out to the movies on a date with my girl. And that was it. Now, obviously I just said I drank, I'm not completely sober or whatever. Am I still drinking? Yeah. And I'll even, I have gotten drunk since I went to I actually went to a Renaissance fair just this past weekend and had a shit ton of mead. I got drunk. It was a lot of fun. But I didn't drink like the entire week leading up to that. I felt like I kind of deserved it. I earned it, whatever. And I'm at a Renaissance fair. Dressed up as Robin Hood. Maybe I'll talk about that at some other episode. But why wouldn't I drink a little bit there? And did that make me feel bad or guilty or sad or depressed about it the next day? No. Because it's not a fucking, White Claw in a deli before work. Because it's not 3 shots of tequila after work. So I'm feeling better now. I feel like I've been in a better mood since. It's been, I don't know, like 3-4 weeks now that I've been pretty good on my drinking again. It's good. I feel good about it because it's like it wasn't like a rock bottom or anything. It was just like I realized something, and I guess I'm not dumb enough to let myself slip that much. If anything, it was a good reminder. Instead of me feeling weak about it, it was actually a good reminder that I'm pretty okay. I'm kind of okay, yeah, sure. I have, anxiety and I get down sometimes, and I know that I have an addictive personality, but I'm also, I've got my head on straight enough that I can see these things coming. I know how it feels when they start percolating a little bit. And luckily, I've been stupid enough in my past to be a little bit smarter about it now in my present. So what now? I still drink. Like, this is a Heineken Zero. But, don't get it twisted. I still drink. I just thought it would be really fucking counterintuitive to actually drink beer during an episode where I'm thinking aloud about alcoholism. So, even though I'm non-alcoholic right now, I still drink. I just feel like I need it a lot less than I did before. And I feel like I might have finally kicked this notion that I think I might only be pleasant or friendly if I'm like tipsy. Because what I was ignoring was that I'm also much more moody if I'm drunk. And I ain't so bad when I'm sober. And also I kind of just suck when I'm sober and drunk in general. I'm not, it's not the level of sobriety that is really the main driving point there. It's just me. But my lows that I feel right now are way less harsh. I haven't been down in the dumps really as of late. And the fact that I'm, coming back at it with you, doing this with you guys, should be, a proof of that. It should be validation of that. It should be, a sign that it's all good. I might try, to expand on this. What do I mean by that? I might try to see if I could go longer times without drinking. We'll see. I just don't. The main thing is not to go back. That's all. I'm feeling good. It was. I don't know. It was a low that I needed to go through, I think, to feel a little bit better now. And does that mean I'm not going to feel low again? No, obviously not. It's me. I feel low all the time. It's just good to know, good to feel confident that I'll be all right. And I don't always need a drink to feel that way. That's really all I got for you guys right now. Once again, I'm trying to be much more okay with shorter episodes if that's what I'm feeling. And when I'm talking about something like, alcoholism, going an hour can be kind of taxing, So, I'm just glad that you guys are with me week in and week out for however long I have you for. And don't worry, for those of you guys that did like the longer episodes, there'll still be some of those every now and then. Me, I love talking. So if it's a subject that's maybe a little bit less heavy, then sure, why not? And best believe if I have someone over and we're having a good time, I'm not going to cut it short. Either way, I'm glad that you guys are here to let me, kind of get this off my chest, use this as a way to vent, to kind of just exhale a little bit, We all got to do that every now and then. You know what else you guys got to do? You guys got to like this. You guys got to give this a thumbs up, subscribe, follow, comment. Do it. Damn it. I may not need a drink, but I need your support. I need you to like me, damn it. You know how you can do that? It's the same freaking way on every platform. At I'm Will Bryant. You can follow me on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Twitch. I said Instagram, Spotify, Threads. I said Twitch, right? It's X. My bad. Whatever. All that stuff, all right? 3 words. I'm Will Bryant. Bryant. Like Kobe. Thank you guys. Cheers.